You guys ready?
Yep.
Let's get started and let's go ahead and motion to open up our board meeting for Wednesday, June 26, 2024 for Bruce Township Board of Trustees. At, looks like 3 o'clock p.m. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate everybody coming. Thanks. So, anybody here for comments from the floor? Stacy, you're the only one in the audience. Anything you want to say at all?
Nope, just apologies for the, it'll be corrected in this week's issue.
Nah.
Every date appointed.
No problem. Okay, thanks. I will move on items under new business. Under item 4A would be our HR Solutions Group. You can recall at our last board meeting, we said we would table this to to get the wording in to every board member from our attorney, Bob Siebert, which I think everybody's got in their board packet, with Bob's comments and recommendations. Does anybody want to go ahead and speak on that behalf on that letter from Bob at all?
I would like to comment if that.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Mike. So, according to this email, our attorney had some issues regarding, number one, some of the provisions. He said that were not acceptable because they appeared to be one-sided in the favor of the SAGE, and there was no reciprocating to Bruce Township, and that was regarding who was being held liable if there was some lawsuit or some misconduct. And so with that in mind, I'm okay still with doing this contract with SAGE if we do follow the recommendations by the attorney. I think that the services that they're providing, which we did look those over prior, I was okay with the services that were being provided. And, but I do have some concerns on the things that our attorney indicates would not be acceptable and recommends being deleted.
He looks like he's reading. Multitask, can I ask a few questions?
Sure.
Sorry, because I'm just coming up to speed. So just to confirm, the only work that's been done so far by SAGE is what they've started on, or what we contracted with them to do for the employee survey and the employee interviews, correct?
Correct.
There's nothing else that we've asked them to do.
All they're doing is conducting surveys, asking, and the questionnaires are in your packet. They're
Yep.
very general, broad questions.
Yep. I have another question.
And they are going to compile their information of what they gathered and submit a summary to the board.
Okay, as that was actually leading to my next question. Are they going to make any recommendations based on their experience, or just summarize the
To
findings?
summarize what's on people's mind,
Okay,
based on those questions, again, that are in your packet.
got it. Next question is, if I'm understanding things correctly, there's maybe 50% of the work done?
Yes.
Okay. A little more? Yeah. Okay. And then have you, during any of your discussions with them thus far, was there any opportunity to negotiate any of the contract terms? Or this is just their standard contract?
That's their standard contract. And for the record, you'll see it in Bob's email, that when I had sent him the contract, he'll tell you on May 21st, 2024, he talks about how he talked to me,
Correct.
general discussion about general items.
Okay.
And basically, most of the conversation consisted around the fact that he felt that it was a waste of money. And in my opinion, I don't think it is a waste of money, because we need to know what's on people's minds.
Okay.
Companies all over the world do this once a year.
Okay. those were my questions. Can I make, since I haven't participated,
Yeah.
maybe just give you guys my take on what I
Yeah,
think?
I'd love to hear it. You have a lot of background in labor relations, human resources.
And, exactly.
Yeah.
And to your point, having done the work for 30 years for a large corporation, obviously private sector, it is fairly common to do these kind of things. Sometimes it's for a specific purpose, sometimes it's just general, very common. I have obviously some HR bias, but I do think right now it's probably a good idea for the township for a couple of reasons. But what we would always tell our internal clients is that if you get the result and you don't do anything with them, you've not invested your money very wisely.
Right.
You have to do something with them. That's why I was asking if, as part of SAGE's expertise, if they ever offer any, recommendations, but now I know. The other thoughts that I've had, and I went back and watched all the meetings again, and I really do think your discussion and your debate was beneficial. I think it was worthwhile to really hash through everything that you guys talked about. It would have been great if the process in bringing them on board was a little improved. And I also gave a lot of credit to what Lisa Craffey said back in January, that she had personal experience and respected this company. I think that says something. As to the attorney's concerns on the few contract provisions, the way I'm looking at it is, right or wrong, it's a valid contract right now. It's signed by both the parties. And I personally don't think it's a good idea to terminate the contract without finishing this current project. Well, hello.
Seriously?
And,
You know,
yeah, that's kind of
that's
funny.
Cooper.
The reason why I don't think it's a good idea to terminate midstream is because, as near as I can calculate, with at least half the work being done at this point, we're into the soup for $1,000, give or take. So we're going to have to pay that. And only having half of the output from the employees it's really not worthwhile. Half the results aren't going to do anything, but we will have to pay for them. So I think that's one of the reasons to at least, finish this off. Another factor is because I understand from last week, talking with the gals up here, that to me, the employees' expectations may have kind of been set, and I think it would probably do more damage than good to pull back at this point. And I know the SED did have some questions, concerns, particularly about the provision that spoke to indemnification. To me, we're half done, and I don't see that we're going to create really any more exposure by finishing this project. So the way I'm looking at it in my mind is two decisions. One being, what do we want to do about this project, and how should that be handled? The second one, I think, is what do you want to do long-term? Like, if they won't fix those provisions or, aren't willing to negotiate something, what do you want to do? They'll finish the work, but we would still have them, correct, available to, if we wanted something else. I don't know. Help us with, a new hire package or something, whatever. It would probably do that, but do you want to keep going with them, given the concern about those
We
provisions?
put a limit on it. We put time and money on it.
It's 60 days still, correct? That's not changing
Still
for right now.
60 days.
Correct.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Anne Marie. I think they need to finish what they started. I mean, we did hire him to do that. We're only locked in for the 60 days to see what can get accomplished. And if they're only halfway through it correctly, they you're not going to get anything out of it if you don't finish. We do need to finish that part of it. And I think that after the 60 days, Susan had a service through the MTA that we were going to take a look at that point. They were busy at the time, and we needed, time was of the essence on this, let's face it. And so after the 60 days, we could look into the MTA people and see, or who they were recommending, and see if they could give us a solution, a long-term solution to the problem we're having with employees.
Yes, I agree with that, and I think the results will be something primarily the three of you really have to think about.
Yeah.
Because if we get results and there's things that you could do and you don't, but again, that's, to me, the subject for the people who work here.
And it's all follow-through. That we have to listen to the recommendation, let's finish what we started, let's see what the recommendations are, and let's follow through with what they say. And we may find that we do like what they are doing for us and want to continue a long-term contract / relationship, or maybe we're finding that, hey, it really didn't accomplish a whole lot, maybe we want to do something else. But it is to our benefit, to the township, to the employees, to the residents, taxpayers, that we do follow through with something. And since we started this, I think we should see it through at least the 60 days.
So you want to put a motion on the table?
It's the execution that is the issue. I think we've already voted, passed, that we're going to go with
Right,
them.
we're going to go with them.
The execution didn't go the way it should have. And in that last meeting, we decided that I was going to be the contact person. I had no idea that we had already signed a contract and that they were starting their
And to that, I
questionnaires.
think that should not have happened. It did. We can't change what happened, but going forward, we all did agree at one point that Susan would be our point of contact. So I think that she should always be kept abreast of what's happening. And if there is some recommendations by Sage, it should go to Susan. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I think it should go to Susan and let her make sure that the recommendations are implemented. Does that sound?
That conversation factor works both ways. Just so
Okay.
you know, It's my
does that
personal
mean?
opinion. Just what I said, conversation works both ways. There's a lot of things that you don't communicate with the rest of this building on.
Well, I think whatever happens, we have to separate that. So if there's other things that are not related to this, let's just focus on this particular issue. And this particular issue is we're having some problems with employees. That's what we should focus on at this point. And Susan is our point of contact. And so she's the one that should be implementing. Everything should flow through Susan. This way we have one point, like we said, and then Susan will make sure things get implemented. If it doesn't happen, at that point, perhaps there should be a conversation at the board table that it's just not working or whatever the case might be. I think that keeps it all in check. We're focusing on just this. And, and there may be some communication issues between the staff, but at this point, what we should be focusing on is the communication between Sage, our employees, and Susan.
Do we even need a motion? Because that was already decided, that all was determined. And this
That's
is already
correct.
signed, so.
Yeah, we already did that.
So I want to just correct it. The motion we did have a motion and did get voted on. There was, we didn't all agree on it. Susan did vote against it. So
But
at
it
that time, we
passed.
did pass it, yeah, but she was the point of contact prior to us voting on it, and after you just voted against it, I figured that, if Frank was going to be the point of contact.
That's the way the motion read, so.
Right.
But you're
You're
still our
right to
point
vote
of
against it,
contact.
yeah.
That's
Well,
what
I
we
agree,
agreed
but
upon.
at that point in time, did you not? I thought that maybe you were taking yourself away from the
No, that's,
issue at all.
I follow through on motions, Mike, that's my job.
I think it was my recommendation to have you as the point of contact at the motion. So, I was all in favor of it, but when you voted against it, I felt that you didn't want to have nothing to do with it. So no, it's fine with me. I'm good. Just wanted to correct it that there was one, we didn't all agree on it at the time. There was one. vote.
Okay, because we had talked about this prior to it, though. We had talked about this whole thing when we had a special meeting regarding the budget. And at that time, when we decided to put a line item in to have a service, if you will, come in and make recommendations, at that point, we had said Susan would be our point of contact. That was a clear discussion amongst us. Now, whether that was part of a motion, I can't say for sure, but that was clearly
That's part of the
what we
motion.
had
That's-
talked
We went
about.
30 days and not to exceed $2,500. That was all part of the motion.
I know prior to that, though, at our
Talking about the
budget
approval of
meeting.
the $10,000
Yeah, when we
for the
originally
budget.
approved
Unless
putting
we're splitting
that
hairs right
service-
now, it's irrelevant. We did approve it, so are we all
Well,
okay with just
we
keep
are,
moving
and I
forward
agree
it?
with you, Mike. I'm just saying that we, at that point, we did say that Susan was our point of contact. The fact that she voted against that motion, I don't think would negate the fact that she was our point of contact.
We'll just
Okay,
keep
that
it
was
as-
just my opinion.
keep
And
it as
I'm good
stated
with
then.
it, yes.
Okay.
I'm good with
So
it.
there is no other action? I mean, technically, we've already approved it.
Mm-hmm.
We've already done 50% of the process and just continue at this point then? Everybody's okay with it?
I'm good with us going, finishing out the 60 days and continue the process. It's important that we get some information.
I agree.
All right, thank you, everybody, for your input. All right, let's move on, items 4B. Oh, roll call for what?
We didn't do it.
You didn't do a roll call for when we started.
Oh, I'm sorry, we did a roll call for who's here.
Boyce,
Yes.
Kraft here, Philbrook,
Here,
DeGiorgio,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes.
all present. And we'll move on to item 4B. This is, I actually added this to the agenda, which is Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. I put in your guys' packet a grant that I wanted to apply for through Macomb County. This is a federal grant, and there is a deadline by the end of the month. That's why I did add it to this meeting. So basically, I couldn't give you guys the whole packet because this is our FEMA federal guidelines book that they sent us and all the stuff, and it's very complicated. It's kind of like our water main grant. It gets a little bit complicated, but now we're getting through that part of it. The process of this one will be a little bit better, but there is money available, and it's for things along the line of, like, I've got here is our generator that controls basically our township hall, our fire station, our dispatch, and when the generator does go down, and it does fail because it is old and we are having problems with our transfer switch, we were out of communications. Our computers go down and everything else. We tried to purchase a generator on our own. We were looking in excess of $85,000, so I would like to get the board approval to submit for a grant for $110,000 to this FEMA program. I can't find my report there.
So no cost to us at all?
There may be a 20% cost, but it's still,
I thought you said there was.
that right now, I've got nothing in the book at all, but I can tell you almost on, with the other federal grant funding, it's pretty much a 20% cost to the township.
And where does that fall in our budget, Mike?
So our township parking lot came in way lower than we had budgeted for. We had $185,000 set aside for the township parking lot in the budget, and we're going to come in the neighborhood. Our bid was at 90-some thousand, and we agreed to go with another $7,500 for grading, so we're going to fall on $110,000 for the parking lot. So it leaves kind of money in the budget that we can use, maybe put that towards 10% of this grant right here. $110,000 was kind of figured on the high side, but maybe it'll come in around $90,000 to $100,000, but we're looking at still somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $20,000 of an investment for the township. This is a huge investment for the township. It doesn't only control the fire station, but it controls our township hall, and everybody here knows that when the power goes out, we don't have one light that works in this building. It's just never was done correctly. And now that we've got Macomb County's dispatch unit on our tower that also feeds off the power from our generator, it's also that much more important that their repeater tower would be working for their radio communications
Are they
as well.
interested in putting up any money towards that, or is this part of the county? This
We haven't approached Macomb County. I don't know if it's a service that we would be,
But this grant is a federal grant, then, is that
that's
my
right, it's
understanding?
federal.
Okay,
funding. It's through FEMA's.
okay.
I mean, Teresa makes a good point,
Yeah.
anytime we need to do something that,
I
like
know.
our roads that they own, they always look for cost share. Maybe
Cost
we
share.
can do a cost share, so
Well,
I mean, it's
we're going
very
to do that.
important
We
for
need to
them.
look at the next level because they take a big portion of the upstairs of our building in the back fire station. You see the big tower that we got back there. Yeah, we don't receive any kind of revenue from the county at all. So, I don't know if it's something the previous administrations worked out, but we can look into it. There's, possibility.
I mean, a cost share on that 10 or 20%, whatever, we
Right.
would have to do the match, but a cost share on that wouldn't really amount to too much for the county, and I think with the benefit they would be getting from that, they might be interested. Not that I wouldn't want to do this, don't get me wrong. I still think this is a good thing to do, even if we pay it all through Bruce Township, but it might be worth asking, inquiring.
The tower that, so we have obviously 2 towers on our piece of land here, one in the back fire station, it's also run by Macomb County. They have huge generated artery services at that piece there.
Oh, and that's there, they take care.
Right.
Oh,
The
I'm
other tower
following
that
you.
they put a repeater antenna on this front tower on this, that comes off the side of the fire station, it's a small repeater tower, but it's still for communication purposes and for the new encrypted radio systems that they're changing over to. So definitely going to be a benefit from, because if we lose power, the generator fails to work, which it's had done for some reason over the past 2 or 3 years. It seems like we've lost power here at least a half dozen times or maybe more. And things have not been switching over very well. So it's definitely going to affect them as well. I would be happy to reach out to them, but I'd rather not make a motion saying, you know,
No.
Right.
I hear you on that one.
contingent on that.
Because I think it's important that if we can apply for this grant, this is so beneficial for the township, that I do agree. I don't think we should put a stipulation that if the county would do a cost share on it, but I think it's worth asking after the fact.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion, go ahead and submit the hazard mitigation plan project grant as presented.
And I'll second that, Mike.
Worked by Therese. We get a roll call, please.
Boyce,
Yes.
DeGiorgio,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Delbrook,
Yes,
and Kraft.
motion carries. Real quick, I know that at our last meeting, when we did approve to have the parking lot done, I did ask for a contingency to have the grading that's done. Obviously, we had half the parking lot done last year. There was never any backfill, no grading that was ever put into place. It still needs to be done. You did mention that we should, I said a maximum of 7,500, which we have allowable without going out for bids. I did reach out to 3 companies to try to get 3 bids on the job. Unfortunately, one of them never returned my call, but I did get 2 other written bids from 2 other companies, very reputable. One's from D. Clark's, which I'm sure everybody knows, and another one's from Ponzio Construction. I think Anne Marie might probably agree it's very hard to get anybody to come out to get any kind of grading bid right now. It's just not a
It's
big job,
terrible.
nobody wants it.
It's terrible.
She's been trying to get something done at her complex. But anyways, we did approve up to $7,500, and the one bid is for $3,950, and it's broken down, and the other bid is for $4,604. I would recommend that we would, again, I don't think it needs to be a board motion, but I would suggest that we would go with Ponzio Construction to do the grading, and
Will they be able to do it in the correct time frame? You want to get that done before the asphalt's done.
so it's one of 2 ways. I don't know if I really want to have the heavy machinery on the new parking lot and, them turning the machines, and I can have them set some dirt aside so they can come back and backfill a new parking lot once it's put in, but I would prefer, because they're going to take out those cement slabs that are still sitting in front of the building and things like that, that they would do the work prior
Yeah.
to the construction phase, and then all they would have to do is come back and backfill the curb a little bit.
Did Bob from Total Asphalt give a
Gave him the
target date?
He has not, but I did give him the opportunity to come in and do corrections on the grading. He says that's not work that we do.
Right,
You have to get it outsourced. So.
right.
But no, there's no target date. We did send him in our deposit that he was requesting, a certain
Right.
percentage, and I'm waiting for a scheduled date to come.
Yeah, I'd suggest getting this Panzo, is that what you?
Ponzio?
Panzo, and to do it as soon as possible, as long as it's not gonna, impede traffic in any way, because I know we just had Bob do a job at Deer Park, and he said, it'll be June. Well, because the weather has been so volatile in terms of almost every other day, rain, it was like, we got a call like probably 3 days ahead and said, it'll be Tuesday, something like that, so, which was fine, we were anticipating it.
Well, I did make sure that Bob was going to give me a couple of different alternative dates, because we do have to worry about recycle here on the weekends, and then Parks and Rec's got activities and events that are going on inside of the park. So when he gives me a couple of dates, I will reach out to Claire and Bob Billick, the commissioner from Parks and Rec, to go ahead and make sure we don't, our schedules aren't conflicted. One thing about the grading in the front, we have curb and gutter. The grading can be done all the way up to the back of the curb and gutter, because the asphalt starts after the curb and gutter, so it won't disturb any of it. But at least that way they can do the removal before the new asphalt goes in. So some of the other areas along the side of the building here and that, there would be areas that would still need to have some dirt brought in and filled, and I'll make sure that's part of the project.
Well, that'll sure help.
Yeah.
Save, make the asphalt last longer if you don't have water dumping right on top of it.
Sure. Right. That's all I guys. Anybody have anything for communications or anything else? Any other discussion?
I'd like to say thank you for installing the drop box for elections.
It looks great.
Oh, yeah, I just saw that.
Looks
Dropped off
really
my
nice.
water bill. Oh, yeah.
Exactly where you want it, so it's too
Yep.
late now, it's anchored into the ground.
I know it's for election, but they do lock, I mean, you can't put
Right.
a ballot in there after a certain time, right? It would work just like
Somebody
if you were
did
at
ahead
the,
and then, yeah.
okay.
That's pretty nice.
We do have a project that's going on, I don't know how many people are going to be watching from home, but that Van Dyke project, and I know that there's an issue with a possible detour going down Gould Road, which is dirt. It's not a very good detour, but it was something I was not even made aware of. I do have a meeting with MDOT, we do have weekly meetings on that, I will bring it to their attention. If they're going to detour the traffic down Gould Road, hopefully it's for a very, very, very short period of time. They do grade in and they do put a brine treatment on the road and keep a brine treatment on there, because those houses are less than 100 feet from the road. The dust would be terrible.
Yeah.
You get them semis and continuous, you know, even if it's 15,000 cars a day, that's ridiculous. So I just want to let people know that.
Yeah, because that would tear up that road. Okay.
We put a fire hydrant in. Another dry hydrant went into, it services both San Marino subdivision and Covered Manor subdivision. I was involved in it was a hydrant I wanted to put in over the past 5 years now. I finally got it in with the help of another guy, and we got it in on Friday. And the fire department tested on Monday and got an enormous amount of flow of water out of it. It's a great hydrant. So, I want to thank Greg Shakir and his family for allowing us to use this pond. So, well done. All right, that's all I got. Anybody else? I'm sure we're forgetting stuff. All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn then at, it's like 3:25, is it?
326.
Aboard.
26. I'm all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out.